Yeah, Baba. Yeah, Baba. It's neat.
Madam, we are from the east. We had you have issues with the ECG. That your light has been disconnected. What happened?
The thing is that the ECG man can. And he told me that whose meter is this? And I said, this meter is not for me. Somebody give me light. And I see the light. He asked me that I should open my room. And I said that me didn't believe you. And you not believe you. Go and count your teeth. Then I said I should go and count my teeth. What you are talking is wrong. ACG people tell you that you should come and see the meter. And this is the meter they are going now. The only meter I go and I know come, I can see he and chew me. Meter don't they man chew. And he said, Madam, what are you talking to me? And I said that to Madam, Master, what you are talking, me no you are no you are.
How does the light get disconnected?
I mean, and there's somebody say, Ola, Emma, call Paul, cut them. And I said that, oh, Papa, this one, they tell me that you are not in this pole, they don't tell you that you call the pole. When you call the pole, then you cut everything. And you cut everything. I talk to the man, you don't mind me. And look me, this fat woman like me today. I can't sleep. I get pressure. I can't sleep. I woman here, I only get chilly. No, what you think? I come back, baby, go. Look at me. I don't get leg to walk to come to the ECG just so office. And so I send my kid there to come and talk. If you don't do the light for me, Father, Jesus will ask you questions. Amen.
Hello, Vink pe mon femme, welcome back to TV. Oye wala don Akyem mene wasa work pe ko mbole work mene oba fe the final part of the Agyapadeɛ documentary ni what Judiciary ochile mi fe no juno ni wo fe nyemeni nye misi wo gadangbe ni fe mo ne ka shi agbe wo ke mene wo ke Agyapadeɛ documentary na agbe no juno Agyapadeɛ documentary Agyapa royalties ka incho mi mene na agbe no juno ni wo ke ba na no I go back to our regular scheduled business. Ora boni jo so oyi wala do wa de enche Akyem we obagbasa ni tamo be ni iwe ke chon yin o chile mi beni wo Judiciary nke bo ake look. Kani moko laka bo ake politics eyin. Kani moko discourage bo ke o participate in politics. Look, tamo beni iwe mo yale tafla che many ame chelo ame keji ame selecti ame nye lo bului ba select ame nye lo ame ona boni nchon so ke oye ni fonko ni ona ye politics here no ni obanye ofe ni okesa na kan ni fon ni ona ye politics here is for you to get involved ona boni nchon now wofe wanye wa run for office wafe wanye waka wa yafon shini afon oshiki yan wo ko ba nyo ko yafon shina afon oshiki yan boy it's a very good thing, go ahead and do it. She akede wafe wanye waka wa Addo shini afon oshiki yan wo sani wo select me ni me ba Addo wo na jian ona ne wo ko ka o mi ensimo politics mi politicians am fe na ka me yo ni me ne da bi moko ba select leader yan bu ni ke mo ba e ba fe no ne sa ke no ne yin ne ba pata ni e mo fe e ba pata yin e kla ni eni bo na ka yin na sani o jaje e ko fon bo fon o shiki bo ko e wo mi no ba na no ni ya no ni me nyi owo yin e o ba hold am accountable me ko me na ba ha me shika ke t-shirt ko mo ke fo ni ame bedroom ame musue pa ame jon ame ba select na kan leader ehabo ni ka select na kan leader ehabo ni bi na yi e wo ni ekolo small politics abaya no na ba fele more ona boni nchon no we sani waka wa yawo mi gadang bebi sani what small politics. We should be actively engaged in selecting our leaders, actively engaged. There is no way na sani watashi ni me ko ma select our leaders in hawo no ele many me select on ma me ba fe no ni me sumo e ke wo me ni tafla che won taw no ya ke shole mo ke chake mo abawo wala shile mi e ke wo tawashi ona boni nchon. So it is very very critical wa ake wo ke wo about politics me. So like I said offline keju on some of these videos on the channel can't disregard le koya wo mi, you must be informed, you must get informed ona ni the more informed ni oyo the better you know how ni obafe only be when it comes to selecting your political leadership. On a bonny show. Now, like I said, me more than likely in alignment with NDC ideology. But I can guarantee you, NDC in your jibo ni call me. I guarantee you this. Kaji numafia me dromo na me ye ekole onye o mi ba fu mi wa. On a bonny show because any near shares and wo Ghana adamoshi. You understand what I'm saying? So mene obaya no nke final part ba habo ken mo mene is eba jacket to other videos because this will be the final part of the old Agyapadeɛ document work over fe ni bode nche ona ni bi baba o ni yo mi ni ke bo ake mo fe mo ni eba tase ni eba ka ke ne this is just a work of fiction ni mo ko ne te eko ne fe no go then more the person is being disingenuous. On a bonny chon, more disingenuous, I think, Baba Gaminten. But on Washington, on a bonny chon, ni esani, atrahaman nakai. Look, what fair 1 year 1 year kumi. Mogobai NDC, Mogobai MPP, Mogobai CPP, class of ideas, ke bale mang noya. So kawa fe wa ya ekomi eyin sani mo kwa MPP sani mo kwa NDC ko ni wa fe wa ka ideas aba ni one no based on our ideas idea ni eba make the most sense eba win the day like wa fe wa ka twama on aboni cho so wa fe sa ni wa fe wa yin ekomi esa ni wa fe wa yin ekomi sani mo kwa MPP na sani mo kwa NDC shimo keji wo na ake no konya regardless of the party color ni wo sani wanye wa yue no ani nchoye ni nke gba ke NDC no jibo ni nyumofia me dromo na me bata no sometime next year ekola o mi ba bo emi fumo because I will call them out equally because sani what Ghana bo machine on aboni ncho ni ko kwani bi ni ye no ewolo na emi ni bi ni ka o ke wolo na amale 2016 na sa amale 2020 ni wolo enye predict ni bi ni ba mi afi na efe na ba mi pepepe even in 2024 snit director na chakele ko ke mi aka bigi agma wolo na in 2020 enye predict on aboni ncho. So it is very difficult for me to believe that this is a work of fiction. More so ni J snit no umpe but this year ni bi pieba in our political space na ye wolo emi wolo no kemia ka ngale in 2020 on aboni ncho. So like I said monita shine mani ne ke gbaloni e sane che so mo ni wo fen wo ya so mo eko eja ke mufo ni yo eno ke ni ne na efe ko mi ake ino sofoko ne na kan ni na kan efe ko mi ake so mo eni tefe mi so mo chumi kwakwe ni ntabi ene efe ko mi ake ino sofoko ni eye na kan mufo na enye na ni na kan. And that is where I fail to believe okay, this is a work of fiction. Yeah. Eje no kona planning afe because afe ne bia ni yo wolu emi fi afe. No ka gba wolu na in 2016. Now I revised in 2020. And yet nibi after 2020 fe ba mi. I mean come on man. Ona. So before nkba me na Akuffo Addo. Eba Jena there was this forum now fe President Mama Unwe Akyem Eba come on nke first quote machine Agyapadeɛ is a fabricated document by my political opponents. Nike okwa video ewe ni bi ni beni ebo presidency around the more angma ye efe ne ken o shife amale. I'm about another quote from Gold FM, Radio Gold. Again, fabricated Agyapadeɛ document, another example of the malicious tactics used to undermine my credibility and integrity by operatives of the opposition. Akuffo Addo, you have no credibility. With all due respect, sir, you have no credibility. Nakan credibility, it does not rhyme with your name. If there has ever been a politician, you're gonna need a better credibility. I think you can list. You will be number one on that list. I don't think Agyem but this is what Akuffo Addo nwe. Chono go ake no na afen be opposition opponent say amena me tashi na me planning no ko na me ngma wolu ani aka we muji ke party e wumuji. But then again I ask every single thing in the book it manifests about 80% of the time. If for nothing at all, snit onupa na chakile. This year chakile. No kan na wolone in 2020 to be na bigi Kenya ke ejekpe in 2020. Wolu enye predictor ke in 2024 about chake snit director. Na ko Akyem ni akaba wo jeme we ka ko safo man for biba wo jeme na ko safo man for bi wo jeme. You understand what I'm saying? So sir, I'm sorry, but you have no credibility. Out of all the politicians to wanna Ghana, the person with the least of credibility is Akuffo Addo. Obeko kla. Don't ever allow that word to never John Abu Dhabi. Don't. So I thought I can respond saying so let's go on. The hijacking of GBC. So I'm a fair about hijack GBC. So what were some of the things you're under GBC hijacking? No what kwake na kan ni bi ebaminlo. GBC it's supposed to be apolitical. Kake apolitical. Nokoni politics spy. On a boninchon because nuele a servo nation, a servo mamuefe. It's a national broadcasting company. So esani a align or left, allow a align or right. On a boninchon. Sani GBC edumo mintromo ne call ball and strikes. On a boninchon. She I'm a kebwake, I'm a fish wake, GBC bachuni ehame. Ona, GBC e bachunia, no kona fe man, na sane dumotromo, ni just anything about Ghana pay yo. I'm a fear me yaka me back call it. Nina kan GBC GTV, allo GTV boni achole biade, ne fear me no ne chuni ehame. Ona bonicho, so our can the Ghana Broadcasting Corporation remains the largest media entity in terms of resources and reach. This means that any regime that captures GBC will control the critical mass, especially in rural communities where the private media does not find economically viable to invest. And this is really true. GBC, Ghana. Every single town, every single community, radio stations, a war. Na can town alone, na can community. I'm a you. So rich ni GBC yo. Eko kla be eko so chono kwa ke no na me you anokwale government ni ebanye ani GBC achuni hale because GBC ya AP ni private TV stations ke radio stations say nye ya ajeme be obaye man bi ajomo. Ona bonincho because UTV enye shaklo wako shi GBC radio ba she na kaklo wa. Joy FM nye shaklo wako she GBC radio ba she na kan klowa no ka ayu anu kwale ye Joy FM na kan klowa bi amenu because GBC one page you know ni show jeme on aboni ni yo sadly the GBC has largely tilted towards the NDC. Perhaps the duration of the NDC as the longest ruling party has ensured the majority of the GBC workers are anti-MPP. We have planted a three-layer approach to capturing and controlling the state broadcaster for good. Firstly, the plan to revoke some of their TV channels will resume in 2021. We have had to backtrack due to the brouhaha surrounding the revocation of their 3 channels. It appears the time an election year was inappropriate. Kojo Upon Nkrumah will execute this with finesse and make the channels available to our party business guys whose list is being compiled. So once again, no me fear me yakam bafeji channels community GBC use or ame bae ya me de ka me ya me de ka me ken ama party B ni ame wa me town na me run the TV channel say go na bafe. So frequencies ni ke channels ni GBC na use or ame bae ya me de ka me ken ama me party B ni ame town na me run the TV station say go keke ame use na kan frequencies be aflo GBC bijin komeji na kan but aflo GBC ame bijin a number of the GBC radio stations will be sold since they are not living up to the task. Once again, the frequency say abaye ke kan ho ama me party B kona me party B ayusu. Secondly, in our next government we have to execute a massive agenda where most senior GBC staff will proceed on leave. Once again, so no pa any your GBC FMBO proceed on leave. Eka me dey ncha me ka me gbe me e wo je me e ka me control the way any GBC ba function. Others will also be transferred to some very remote communities where life appears unbearable. So ake back proceed on leave akabo ba ya klowako ni boli enche efe ma ke e ba gbo na ngege ko be tru ba fe mi ni o ba pa nu chumo. The strategy is to get them to resign, bona, and their positions be filled with party loyalists. Well, there you go. So kakabo te aklowako no nyoyi imagine no tuni ya ga onga ko bi ko hoi fen ga o lifetime fen ga e ga gwo bo kete aklowako to ba fe to yin no ko nye mi no ba fe e ko ba panu chumo e ke ko panu chumo me wo am party no ke wo je me ona. So once again we be in and I'm sure I can look. I don't know this has already taken place at GBC, but I'm sure I can ofe investigations no te GBC obana ke collect transfers ko me ete je me chake mo ko me ba je me ni bulenche ko bana ke chake mo ne make sense. The strategy is to get them to resign and their positions be filled with party loyalists. This way, we will not only have taken over the state broadcaster, but our plans to sell some of their frequencies will be met with little to no hesitation. Thirdly, the last straw is to continue to ensure that the GBC is inflicted with inadequate budgetary allocations. No like a job ade dan GBC both governments I'm a staff or I'm a wishika no GBC nye echuni odo ba me nya me compete with the private owned stations because dan am beshika no le both governments fio she me ma me nke ba ka ma mbadi ba me mi ami wa de enche ona boni jo ko kwa GTV amekwe ba kudo ni mi na ka me ni bi e ko me chake ona boni she chuchuku GTV am equipment is very very bad. I'm a sound quality is poor. I'm a picture quality is abysmal. Bakoda ni body encho ona ke ni bi nchake bia na mi na ka me broadcasting HD ke ni bi ona sound infio efe enye yo to yo te yo jugba inaboeche inaboeche ye pa no enye yo nyefe nyelele nchegbe alo nchegbe anti Thelma to yo ten inye yo Thelma oyojugba mingabo So there you have it. It will also make their leadership even more loyal since they will have to continually keep mute to get bits of their budgetary releases from the finance ministry. So once again, noni amefia ameyake amebafe ye GBC. Now, where are the judiciary and governance in Ghana? So once again, ona no animin kake onyo ke miake ne it's a work of fiction because none of aka na be body and check oba na ke I execute le pepe wa ma oba you court ke wo judge sasande this very nine no jino they capture both way. Considering the competitive nature of our work as politicians, there is always a need to be a step ahead against our opponents to secure our interest, dominance, and maintain power in 2020 and the next 20 years. Our focus as a party has always been to position our members and sympathizers at strategic positions both in government and in the judiciary to cover and protect our interest. Bona. So no wani I'm a lawmaker what judiciary. Akuffo Addo commit to enke so far 15 e wo jeme and nominate 5 more ke approve 20. There has never been a single government. Never been a single government. A single president ni select me that much. Your Supreme Court. Between Akuffo Addo and John Mahama 7. Atta Mills came 3 in Akuffo Addo. Between John Mahama and Atta Mills 7. Mahama appoint 4. And Mills appoint 3. So for 8 years now, I make 7 per with judiciary. Kufuor had about 15. I kind of JJ Eketomo 11 wojeme because ball no me akwa waje 1992 constitution. You understand what I'm saying? This tells you no wani I mean fair na kind. All the appointments made These are served as well over the period. All the appointments made to the Supreme Court, Court of Appeal, and some of the high courts in Ghana under our government was to promote the MPP agenda and to ensure our country never falls in the hands of the opposition NDC. This is clear as ABC. Once again, a biggie. And I execute the pepe. So I find it very hard to believe. Numo, I find it extremely hard to believe. Akene woloko kekenanga. Hello, judges ka wo court say fe no bacho. Ni sani e kokete ni JNDC no diwa ba trashwe 70 90 80 60. Ona bonincho 807060 sani fe no kobaya ni NDC no diwa kokete aba try against ibo. Nwodi nche wana na continue na lawmaker can wo court say lo a party sympathizers a lawmaker wo jamolo ni atraman na kind. Abu man na kind. Look, appointments to the court, it is very political. Kani mokomoko lakabo. Ya America ne ke Biden ba a selector judges ni ame align with a judicial philosophy. Na kano ke Republican say ba I'm a selector judges ni align to a judicial philosophy. But this is too none ya no Ghana le eyemobo. Ona bonicho efenine. None Akuffo Addo kometo fio efenine. You understand what I'm saying? Efenine ni afe na abu man na kai. Onu mshishi abu man na kai. More so mani wa yo ni what checks and balances be all that strong. Ona ke every aspect no lobo bi son kan wo jame. I mean drama. No me man jalo eji ame. Ka wo cha me man jalo wo cha me ni fitelo sake wo cha me na kai. Citizens may exercise popular participation in the administration of justice through the institutions of public and customary tribunals and the jury and assessor systems. The judicial power of Ghana shall be vested in the judiciary. Accordingly, neither the president or parliament or any organ or agency of the president or parliament shall all be given final judicial power. The recent decision to exclude the use of birth certificate to prove one's citizenship through the 2020 voter registration exercise is a clear example of the agenda to prevent so many people from registering this year's election, especially in our opponent strongholds. We had statistics to suggest that the negative impact it would have had for us had we allowed it. So, Bona. No, me feel Ghana card, no birth certificate, everything. I mean, here can because I'm a statistics say Jake called a rural area say I'm a small I'm a from Shikan NDC one. You know, like them be any anyafe Ghana card, passport, can I be birth certificate in wa. Like some of these things, like a birth certificate all over. She called o idea. So no nyeke district office. No your time neighbor nyeke district office. Whereas ni a clinical maternity clinical petele A4 make a birth certificate. Wow. So ni it is a thought out plan. A jino koni amete ba me planning. It is imperative to observe that in recent times, most elections in Africa have been fraught with post-elections legal challenges. Kenya, Ivory Coast, and Zimbabwe are a few of these cases. As this become a norm, our own experience of 2013 should never happen again. We should never be in this situation, and the lesson should teach us a lot. Occasionally, it can be discovered that the courts have been instrumental in shaping the democracy in Ghana, and stakeholders are devotedly operating within the legal framework governing elections. Despite logistical, law enforcement, and justice delivery challenges, we should, as lineage, be the winner in this. I don't understand what the last sentence said mean. I don't think it's been worded right. We have to make sure that even in unlikely event that the NDC win the 2020 elections, that they do not get the chance to appoint more judges to the Supreme Court. Our control over the judiciary is important for our protection. Even so, once again, Abigi Angmawolone in 2020, yet a predict be fair any babami this year. So it cannot be fiction. It cannot. Our control over the judiciary is important for our protection. Even if we were to lose the election, to prevent such unfortunate situations from occurring, we need to explore all legal avenues to protect our appointees within the judiciary system and find out ways to prevent any new government from making further appointments within the next 10 years at least. So I know Akuffo don't law making a judiciary. The whole purpose is jake koniko batano ni president Gojibo no for yake oba law making ya Ghanaians ba kaka ani be judge se be ame fire court set on what a PA wo jemetro. Oh no, so for the next 10 or so years, I'm a judge son by you court, but president called for Jacob because I mean we be so. So this is the plan. Okay, for the next 10 years, party Jibono Batano, but court say a year with a lot of judges. There is no way ni Ghana will be happy seeing you put more judges there. I mean, crippled pretty much. We must also re-strategize our campaign. We need to find ways to get majority of Ghanaians to be on our side. The Agyapadeɛ deal may initially create problems for us, but we will need good communicators, people with the legal brains to explain the issues to the general population that the deal is in the national interest. Kwe! Ghana be inke any waka ni neke Agyapadeɛ deal ne ebajekpo ni wofe na ywe NDCB CSOs mo fe mo complain ni deal ne estole nya waka ajemeda ni me ni ka me gbe vomi ni ame ani deal ne fe popular ni me bu mi nkomo na ke kwe ahun wo bushi ni ake Ghana bi fe ken ha na ke me anytime no oba ya wo na ni anhye ni oba sole nya wo sole ha ne abigi ene me kemin kan ye no woni ko kemia ke document ne fiction angmala ton ye everything it play out exactly the way na me plan ile while only the judiciary can exercise the judicial function, it is slow to resolve disputed facts and law and often strains to uphold executive authority. For instance, while the Constitution commands that the President appoints members of the Electoral Commission acting on the advice of the Council of State, the court has interpreted this requirement as if the President merely has to consult with the Council of State. In other case, the court has taken over 2 years and is yet to resolve a simple question of law of whether the president can appoint a person who is past the mandatory retirement age to hold a public office. It does not help matters that the president can appoint an unlimited number of judges to the Supreme Court. So I may agree, I may accept the fact that I can say it does not help matters. Simo, I mean, Yanona me fe, Koni SCQ, I mean, only. Me care back look. America, we are about 400 million people. Once again, one constitution, a copy the number of appointments. Ni president Tebanye select to the Supreme Court. A copy. There is no way in the Constitution they can select 9 justices per to the Constitution. But I think somewhere in the 60s or so, the president, one of the presidents, or no, by convention, and we are 400 million. Ghana, give or take, 40 million. 40 million. So we are 100 times, 10 times larger. Right, 40 times 10 is 400. So we are 10 times larger than America in terms of the population. You understand what I'm saying? It makes sense. And these are some of the Nibi Komeni constitutional reviews, amendments Komeni as an afi Mofemo Nibaye in 2024 elections. While Nana has been in office for 3 years, he has appointed 9 justices, including 2 chief justices. Admittedly, many of these appointments are made to replace retiring justices, and there are no systemic evidence of a deliberate effort to undermine judicial independence. Nonetheless, it fuels the deception that the president is packing the court to gain influence over judicial decisions. To breathe life into the separation of powers doctrine, there is a need to amend Article 108 to allow MPs to introduce private member bills. There you go, Abigi, once again, anywhere afe. Abigi, anywhere afe. So they fiction, inyemi. You don't care me like a fiction, inyemi. Oh, Abigi, come on, man. Inyemi, you don't care me like a fiction. Once again, be a private members bill, a 20-year Ghana Parliament, inyemi. It is not an entrenched provision of the Constitution and can be amended with a 2/3 majority. Fortunately, Speaker Professor Mike Okwe has signaled that even in the absence of a constitutional amendment, Parliament can address this problem. It is expected that the ongoing process to revise the standing orders of Parliament will contain positions to allow MPs to introduce non-finance bills. There you go, Abigi. Ona so wolone kani MPP nyoko gaslight bu ne kebwake ene noko ni mogwe tashi ne plan ya maleni kame kebo na kame male court sending kani abu na Akuffo. It's a big lie. Be a private members bill ya Ghana. Ona ke until private members bill peshishi chonji yake MPs then chabanye amilencha banya may introduce bills amancha banya introduce bills na debate ya no na pass in a law. On a bon inchon, Tamabeni afio man conclume. Ghana no me bills fe ni ba executive jimena ke ba ka executive be president ke won be ama meke mlana ameta wona echuni ama meke ba parliament. Ona ni ayoi ke ka pass. So none private members bill ni bi ana pass in echom life age yake individual MPs ni wo fon shiki ame okaji mlako ye ni amenta oni amefe eba Ghana amo ame ba ya parliament ona ni aba ameba debate ke ka ame pass ke fe mla so mla eje president ke won bi no pe won bi peke ba ke baba ona before na pass the ke bill no me mla no na pass your Ghana parliament executive ni the president ke won bi ama make ba she bi ane na kan no ko echaki so ka wolo na ehun iwe na kan no ko abigi onyo ka mi aka na fiction kokuni efe na kan pepepe private members bill no ni ake pass tacholete ge bi a bill e parliament eje executive eje Akuffo Addo ke no ba Sam George ke a couple of the MPs bona so private members bill are used first say bele na kai so ene me fe ba mi no taje me no ke mi ake ene akakwe akabu come on man. It is necessary to amend Article 78 to allow a president to choose majority of ministers outside Parliament and also to have a ceiling on the number of ministers required for running government. We also need to place a ceiling on the number of Supreme Court justices and to acquire all of them to hear all cases. This is very true. Asana menye na amefe I agree. Wolone bi na admit ake tacholete sana cap the number of judges, Supreme Court justices, ni President Banye. It's so bad. I can only see why bibione. You mean kebaka why found radio America nine pe yo. I mean, I mean, mla mandate to I select. I think about what 80% or so of president a minister say I major parliament no a jaining papa. No MP say I select I mean I'm a feminist say but instead of that sana me focus on development ya me constituency say but ministerial work no son you know ni ona boninchon sana me GNO we I agree with these provisions in your name amengma in the short term and in the absence of a constitutional amendment as we suggested as far back as 2003 Professor H. Kwesi Prempeh by Professor H. Kwesi Prempeh, there is a need to develop conventions and to address some of these gaps rather than take actions that maintain the status quo or exacerbate the problem. I agree. In respect of Article 78, through a convention developed between the executive and legislature, a cap on the number of ministers can be reached. Ideally, it can double the number required of a cabinet, 38, excluding regional ministers. A similar convention can be adopted to provide for a ceiling on the numbers of Supreme Court justices to be appointed. I agree with this correctly. If there is anything positive in this document, is amendments proposed work our constitution. It is very, very positive. The 2020 elections will not be easy for us. With current happenings, we need to sit up. Why are we so quiet on the omnibus scandal? Yes, we know we haven't found enough to indict Mahama, but a lot of Ghanaians were buying into our approach. Why have we stopped? It is time to go back to the drawing board. We must make sure we use the court system to help us damage the NDC beyond repair. Let us start prosecuting people. That is why we put our people there. Otherwise, we have a problem. Our attempts to take charge of the judiciary is a matter of necessity. Lest we forget that in Accra on June 30, 1982, between the hours of 9 p.m. and 10:30 p.m., 4 peace-loving and illustrious Ghanaian citizens were abducted and callously murdered. The 4 were Mrs. Justice Cecilia Corentin Addo, Justice F.P. Sarkodie, and K.A. Agyapong, and Major Sam Akwa, retired. 5 people. Joachim Amatekwe, then 32 years. Lance Corporal Samuel Kwaku Amedeka, 27. Lance Corporal Michael Senya, 21. Johnny Jandu, 23. And Tony Tekpo, 24, were tried by the National Public Tribunal, chaired by Mr. George Ajekum. We cannot acquiesce to the public quest for bygones be bygones mantra. It is important to understand that the origin still stays with our good friend and former foe, Mr. Rawlings. So there you have it. International relations. I think this is probably the last yep, or back in the next 5 minutes or so. This is the last one. I'll now deal with international relations. So both way, our Russian allies have proven themselves with Operation Magazine. We couldn't have made it thus far with the aggressive nature of the opposition without this strategic document. By handing out magazine to the magazine, I hope I'm saying it right, to the MPP government, we will need to develop a much longer relationship with them, even in the unlikely situation of the party ever going into opposition. Wow. So I'm a Russian ally. However, COP appear to Commissioner of Police appear to will need to be handled. Having served as the eye of the Russian Federation in our republic, it is very imperative to redevelop relations and try to avert its anger. His refusal to go and become ambassador to Ukraine signals that the Russians still trust him and will be unwilling to deal with the party in the long run without him. So Russia the implementation led by Samia Ruku, Lord Comey, Michael Opoku, and the rest will still have to be coordinated with APA2 in its fuelless brute form to achieve a total annihilation of the NDC opposition and its leading element. We need to properly assess the genuineness of Mr. Yevgeny Prigozhin, Russia BN. He had disclosed in the last meeting in London that he was all for Nana and has had no dealings whatsoever with the former president and party. He repeated this statement in Sochi at a dinner we had with the Egyptian president. It has, however, been difficult to double check with that statement from Mr. P2. So these guys were working with the Russians. Now, don't get me wrong. Governments, okay, I mean international party allies, not make a choni, but the fact that I can it down to the party level. This is not a work of a government. Now make a Russian government and chuni, but this is the work of a party. I make a Russia be a fake come na chuni na plan the way ni. It is our duty to consider what is set out in the bigger Russian picture and pick and choose what will benefit the family. This is key because Ghana is ranked at level 3 and the magazine program only suffices up to the end of 2020. It is instructive to look at the Moscow Grand Plant beyond 2020. The Russian development strategy, which covers the division of the African economy, is meant to contrast the interests of other states. Now, In the light of the above, Kwame and Kusi are to consult and carefully check the benefits of these arrangements as against that of the U.S. to properly position the family and our tradition to be the winners of this political chess game by way of reference. And there you go. That is the last one. So, Keji Okwe Onake, look, meneme kame yeko oba young Ghana don. To the fact Takeshi, even at the party level, they are working with the Russians. The plans now me yo to fill the judiciary with their party apparatus. I take over GBC. I take over judiciary. I take over everywhere. The civil service. Even what unions, so-called, were expected to come and represent the interest of traders. Civil. It's sad. It's sad. Like I said, I may execute me. No wakeji achake ame. Ni ameba finish no yo wolo na mi. Ghana ni ba fi mobo. Oba na Ghana ni oyo Ghana don kani mokomoko lakabo. Oba na Ghana ni oyo Ghana don. Ke angmani ne 2020. Timobeni nyemi abigi ke moko nkaka o ejenshi 2016 inesha 2020 update le. Once again no na ke ni be na angma in 2020 favor me years down the line. So J storybook ni wakan ye. Wakane ko storybook gandang baby. Mene me ke ashima ya ha me kunwe. Amba akpoto wo no fe no ye. Bina me yano ni worshipon na aju na me low e ba fenini ona boni nchon so kani mokokla la kabone ke bwa ke o ene ebemi na amale son di amale no koni anu kwale trodo because ame fe ye wo yin every single aspect na me wolone capture wodi nche wonna ni bi ni ame fe ye jeme every single one of them wonna ni bi ni ame fe ye jeme so ye akane storybook ko keke ni moko engma je adesano kone. Anyways, oyi wala don ni wonyeme ni nyemi si gadangbe ni fe mo wa cha no in the last one ne wogbena oyi wala don wa de nche ake okobi ni wonye wo discuss wonye wo gba neke wolo ne Sunday ko ejomoko ni osumo no chon ishiba mi wanyo ka wo comment section en kan de no fe no ni akawo jeme yibo ani o na ye mo mfoni ne no hwe wanyo send me voice no mi kpa bo fa kan eche 2 minutes pe ona boni nchon o kan gbejeme ona so can be pi your jomo mi no ba you mi kpa bo fa o fa ne judge more down the important points can just go at it ona boni nchon bona fe ni me pi ajomo chomo wonye wobua no na oyi wala don wa de nche ofa ne like mo show ani oja kemaje me twa ni o manye juno afo no bye bye.
Yeah baba it's neat. Them say you want to chop my